first, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got involved with health insurance?
Sure. My name is Analisa, and I'm with Kodo Financial, and I've been doing it for the past 17 years now.
So, part of the reason why we're talking right now is because it's open enrollment time.
Right.
So, could you tell me a little bit about what open enrollment is and what happens during this period?
Open enrollment is the time frame, the period of the year that you can purchase individual health insurance plans outside of having a special enrollment period. So right now, this extended open enrollment is for people that don't currently have health insurance, so the uninsured. If you have gone more than 60 days after employer coverage, typically you couldn't purchase anything right now. You can always purchase it during the 60 days. But if you let that lapse, you can purchase it now. Or if you just haven't had insurance for years, you can purchase it now.
If somebody does want to switch insurance, what do they have to do for that?
You can't switch insurance right now. So the open enrollment is only for those that are uninsured. So as far as switching, you're going to have to wait until the traditional open enrollment period, which typically starts from mid-October, beginning of November, till December 15th. And in that time period, you can switch plans and the change will happen on January 1st.
Okay. And when does this extended open enrollment period end?
As of right now, I believe it's May 15th, but things are changing constantly.
I know that unemployment has been really high since the pandemic started last year.
Mhm.
So what can people do if they find themselves unemployed and without insurance?
Well, that's what open enrollment's for. So if they are unemployed and they don't have insurance, we can definitely sign them up at this time. The premiums are based on income though. So you do have to take into account the income that you're getting from unemployment because that does come into play.
And is COBRA an option as well?
It can be, so you can choose one or the other. So COBRA is essentially an extension of your employee benefits. And when you are an employee, your employer has to pay at least 50% of your premium. They don't have to pay anything for your family members. Many do, but they don't have to. So when you leave a position, you have 60 days with which to elect COBRA. That would put you back on the group plan. And most often you end up paying the full premium, not the subsidized that you had with your employer.
And if people do get sick during this time, whether it's something random or if someone does end up getting coronavirus, would their rate increase? Would they get a big bill?
Bills, yes, but the rate is not going to increase. So the rate that you see is the rate that you get. Oftentimes I'll ask them how they intend to use it, meaning, what's your health like? Do you take medications? Do you anticipate procedures? And sometimes I'll even say, well, I don't have to tell you this. And that's true. They don't have to tell me. But I ask that in order to help determine what the best plan for them is. But no, anybody can get coverage right now. The rate is the same, regardless of if you are extremely healthy and you're only using it for preventative, or, if you're undergoing treatment for a very expensive illness, it's going to pay the same.
Good to know. And I also wanted to ask about those who are still on their employer-sponsored health insurance plans. Are those people locked in, or do they have other options?
Well, they're locked in a sense that they can't purchase an individual plan right now because it's not a qualified event. If you just decide, I don't want this anymore. And it's also not a reason to be able to utilize the open enrollment. That doesn't mean that people aren't going to try. I discourage people from going against the rules. I mean, I might not know that when I'm enrolling them, but it's best to play by the rules because you don't want to get caught and have it canceled.
Right.
However, if someone's on an employer plan and it is expensive and they don't feel that there's a lot of value, There are alternatives to traditional health insurance that you can sign up for at any point during the year. However, they're not the right fit for everybody.
What's one example of one of those alternatives?
So, an alternative that we offer is called a health share plan. And again, it's not insurance, but it's another way to have your healthcare costs covered. It's a great financial safety net for those that are a good fit.
How would you know if you were a good fit for that? And how would you search for one?
I really recommend speaking with a broker versus your friends, neighbors, something like that, because just because people have something doesn't mean that they understand how they work. Not all health shares are created equally. There are some that have low limits of coverage, meaning, you talk about COVID, these people are, find themselves in the hospital, ICU for a week. You're gonna have a really high claim.
And the way you work with clients, I think some people probably hear like that you're a broker and think, oh, that's going to cost me money. So I'll just do my own research. But how does it really work? And how do you work with people?
So as a broker, we represent all of the carriers, and the insurance companies pay us to enroll people. And I just had this conversation the other day. Someone said, oh, well, you're recommending one plan over the other because of commission. I let them know we don't make commission. That's old school. We used to make commission. We don't anymore. We get paid per enrollment, and we get paid a flat rate. So I have clients that, because of their tax credits, have zero premiums, or maybe it costs them $2 a month. I'm going to get paid the same amount on that as someone that's paying $900 a month. The fees are built into your policy. So if you decide to do it yourself and go to the marketplace and think you know what you're doing and don't want to work with a broker, you're absolutely able to do that. However, I do this all day, every day, and have for years. So why not use somebody that knows what they're talking about? It's not going to cost you anything additional.
So if a consumer is looking for a health insurance broker and they're asking for money up front, that's a red flag.
Absolutely. The other red flag is when the broker says, free quote. It costs nothing to quote.
So with the health insurance companies that you work with, and all the experiences that you've had, what are some of the top ways that you think people can save money on healthcare and health insurance?
Well, I think one of the biggest ways is to find a plan that really suits your needs. So, for example, I just had a client this morning call me, and there was an issue with her policy, and she was being charged $600 for her medication. I knew what the problem was, and we're working to resolve it. It'll be done quickly. However, somebody that maybe doesn't have the right fit for them doesn't understand that their medication is going to be, $600 on, say, a bronze plan. Whereas if they chose a different plan, maybe a little bit more money, they might have an $80 copay for that tier versus 600.
So having the right plan means that those costs balance out in ways that you might
Right.
not have seen coming. What would you say to consumers who still feel like they can't afford health insurance at all?
They need to talk to somebody to find out if they truly can't afford it. Like I said, I've got clients with zero premiums. How do you not afford a zero premium? One of the stories that I'll never forget, I had this guy that called me, young, maybe, early 20s. And he calls me and said, I think I need insurance. He said, I was healthy and I'm active, and nothing ever happened. So I didn't have insurance. And he was hiking and got bit by a rattlesnake
Oh
and
my
had to
gosh.
be helicoptered off of the mountain. And I asked him, so what'd that one cost you? His bill was $250,000 with the
Yeah,
antivenom and the medevac.
doesn't sound cheap.
That's going to ruin you. There's very few people that can absorb a $250,000 bill. That's because he was uninsured and he had to declare bankruptcy. So,
Wow.
as much as you feel like it's an unnecessary expense, it's absolutely a financial safety net, and you need to find a way to make it work. The majority of people that are lower income, their premiums are going to be low. It's those that make a decent income that can be a little tricky, but
Mm.
we work and we try to find something within their budget.
And if someone doesn't have any insurance at all, is there still a penalty for that?
Not in many states. However, there are 5 states that still have the mandate, meaning if you don't have credible coverage, whereas again, I brought up the health share, we do have one that is considered credible, that satisfies that mandate, but there are 5 states that you must have it. And if you don't, you will be penalized on your taxes.
Does the penalty depend on your
It's
income?
a percentage of your
Okay.
income.
So I'd really like to um, end with the beginning and go back to open enrollment. If you could only tell someone looking around for insurance during open enrollment one thing, what would that one thing be?
Get something. Something is better than nothing. I mean, the way I like to put it to people is, the hospitals are full of people that were healthy yesterday. You don't get a warning. Everyone's, well, I'm healthy and I'm careful. Well, that's why they call it an accident. I mean, nobody ever puts on their calendar they're going to fall down the stairs. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So you need to be prepared. And it's one expense that absolutely should be covered. I mean, people insure their cell phones because they don't want to be without a phone. They insure their car because they know they need that, or their home insurance. Health insurance really should be no different. And it has a chance to really ruin you financially. I mean, an appendectomy is going to cost you $50,000 if you don't have health insurance. If you don't have the money for that, you don't have the money to not go without health insurance. You need to look into options and find something.
Right. And from what I've written on Debt.com, we know the huge reason that people get into debt is often big medical bills and falling
Mhm.
behind on credit cards and other things because they're trying to pay that off too. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today, Analisa.
Sure. Have a good one.
You too.